Today is a video on a BMW that I've always wanted to do a video on. This is the iconic E46 M3, one of what some people say is the best M3 ever made. It's the purest M3 in its formula, of course. 6-cylinder, naturally aspirated engine up front, rear-wheel drive at the back, not a manual transmission in the middle, which we'll get to in a minute. It's sort of a mixture of a manual and an automatic. Again, we'll get to it. This is the M3 that is known to be one of the best. It was one of the best selling, and it was one of the best driving. Underneath the hood here is the 3.2 liter S54 engine that develops 333 horsepower, and it's known for its inherent raspiness and unreliability. We'll forget about that. And for me, this has always been a car that I've wanted to drive, because if you don't know me already, I own a 2005 E46 325 Xi, which is basically the complete opposite end of the E46 spectrum, at least in the United States. My car does have 6 cylinders, but it's much less powerful, 4 doors, all-wheel drive, family sedan, basically. This was the sporty, hardcore version. But if you wanted to go even more hardcore, you could opt for, at least if you lived in Europe, the E46 M3 CSL, which had lots of lightweight components, carbon fiber roof and trunk lid, carbon intake on the engine, sounded really good, went really hard, was awesome. I probably will never be able to do a video on one because, again, they were only sold in Europe, not in the United States. So the closest we could get was what we have here. Let's take a review type tour of this E46 M3. Underneath the hood here, once again, you see the S54, a 3.2 liter inline 6-cylinder engine, no turbos, but still developed 333 horsepower and could rev up to, I think, in excess of 8,000 RPM. This is known to be one of the best 6-cylinder engines ever made, ever. You know it's a good engine when it's mentioned in the same breath as the 2JZ, which also came from the same era, sort of, earlier. It made a lot of power, partly that was due to variable valve timing, individual throttle bodies, all that cool stuff that I don't understand. I'm sure it's great. And it also had a reputation for blowing rod bearings and having some bottom end issues. What specialty high revving BMW M engine of the past doesn't have that kind of problem? Maybe the present, who knows? We'll have to see how it goes on the new ones. Also, one thing that's important is this was the last naturally aspirated 6-cylinder engine to go into an M3. After the E46 came the E92 M3, which had a 4-liter V8, and then after that, the F80 M3 had a 3-liter straight six once again, but had 2 turbochargers for extra power, and that's what the current M3 has, also a twin turbo straight six. So this was the last pure, naturally aspirated straight six. And unfortunately, in this car, it's not tied to a true manual transmission. It's tied to a mixture of a manual and an automatic. It's called the SMG, the second generation of the SMG to be exact, and it stands for sequential manual gearbox, which isn't as fast as a dual clutch, and by modern standards, I've heard it's very slow, absolutely terrible, but I've always wanted to experience it because it's something even more different than what we're used to these days. Some BMW M cars have 3-pedal manual transmissions, some have really fast automatics or DCTs. This is nothing like anything that they sell right now. So that's why I've always wanted to do a video on an E46 M3 and specifically the SMG, because I just want to see what it's like. So in a minute, we'll be able to get on the road and find out exactly what that's like. Let's talk about some boring stuff like practicality. Now this has a spoiler on it. It looks quite factory. I don't know exactly if it is, but it does add a little bit of flair and zest to this M3. That is my key, looks identical to this, which it looks identical to this key. Here's the key, standard BMW key of the era. This is something I'm very familiar with because, again, I also own an E46. I'm looking right at it, feeling a little bit sad that I'm sitting next to the cool version, knowing that I own the boring one. Practicality opens just like mine, and you find a trunk area just like mine. Not that special. You do have releases for the backrests if you want to carry some longer items, like perhaps if you need to carry a lot of parts around because it's not known to be the most reliable BMW, you can fold down the rear seats and you have even more room for all your parts for when it breaks down. That's nice. This is an old BMW in all of its pure old BMW ways. Oh my God, the pavement is so hot, it's burning my knees. Oh, unfortunately, yes, this E46 M3 does have the toolkit, but unfortunately, unlike my car, it's not full. There are some tools missing. So that is definitely a mark against this M3 and something that my car has over it. Yes. BMWs of this era came with the toolkit, which was really cool. Pretty sure nobody ever used the tools. I know I don't really, but it's just nice to see a toolkit up there, isn't it? All right, so let's check out the rear seat room. Now this is something a little bit different from what I have because this is a two-door car. Pull on this lever, seat folds forward. Doesn't seem to move forward, which is annoying, but oh well. Ugh. Oh yeah. And it's got slightly less room than the four-door model, which is to say already not enough for somebody that's tall like me, 6'3". This seat's in my driving position. A little bit tighter back here than in the four-door E46, but not that big of a deal. You're not gonna be carrying people back here that much anyways. I've got a little center armrest right here, which is nice. Some nice materials, nice leather and brushed aluminum here. This feels like soft touch plastic, nice headliner. There's really nothing much to talk about other than the fact that these windows do open to vent electrically, which you can't control back here. Only the front seat passengers can control that. And that's really it. And honestly, it looks like these rear seats have never been used because this E46 M3 is extremely low mileage, which we're gonna get to in a second. And look at that. The seat moved forward that time, which will make getting out easier at least. So yes, I just told you that this E46 M3 has quite low mileage. How low exactly? 34,755 miles. And it really shows because this car in here feels basically brand new. I can't find any example of anywhere I look. I keep coming back to my E46, which I'm going to keep doing that. My E46 has 193,000 miles, and it's weird to see all of this stuff new, working perfectly, no wear on it at all. Like this center console lid, new. This parking brake boot, brand new. It's torn on mine. It's just pretty ridiculous seeing it like new in here. And it's just mostly standard E46 stuff up here with standard radio, climate controls, sunglasses holder down there. You have a sport mode, which is nice. But in the center, we have the SMG transmission, which functions a lot like most BMW M automatic gear selectors, where reverse is left and forwards, and then it doesn't really have a park button. You just park it in neutral. And to get the car to start, you have to put it into neutral, then it'll start, which took some figuring out on my part. And you can shift manually with this little shift lever here, or you can shift with the paddles on the steering wheel, which have quite a nice tactile feel, but I think modern BMWs and modern shift paddles in general feel a bit nicer than this. This feels a little bit too plasticky for my taste. Down here you can also adjust how quick the shifts are on the transmission, which we might play around with that later. Right now it's in its dog slow mode where it takes 5 minutes to change gear, so it's a bit annoying. Looking forward, I have the standard M steering wheel, which is similar to just a basic 3-spoke BMW steering wheel back in the day, but it has some M stitching, a little bit of extra bulging around here so you can get it at that 10 and 2 driving position, and an M logo down there, but it's basically the same as the steering wheel that I've had in my car, just M-ified, if that makes sense. Looking forward, I have BMW M gauges that are finished in silver surround on a gray background on the gauges themselves. Instead of a constant MPG gauge up there, I have an oil temperature gauge, which is frankly a lot more useful, especially in a car like this. Also, the tachometer goes all the way up to 9,000 RPM because this car had a red line in the 8s. I'm going to put it down there. I can't exactly remember, but it's that's the red line of this car, which is quite high, and that helps with the whole fun driving experience vibe that the E46 M3 is known for. How does the M3 actually compare to the complete opposite end of the spectrum of the E46? Like I've been blabbering on about for the entire video on and off, I own an E46, but a more basic level version. This is my 2005 325 Xi manual, which has 6 times the mileage of this car, over 6 times the mileage, and all-wheel drive, only 184 horsepower on its 6-cylinder, but it's probably a lot less now. 4 doors, practical, everyday car, good reliability, but how does it really compare to the ultimate E46? Well, what I've noticed from sitting in and driving the E46 M3 so far is that it's kind of weird. Feels like it has a lot more energy than this old car, but has a more complicated, difficult transmission to work with. That SMG, a lot slower, a lot more frustrating to live with every day than a traditional manual like what my car has. And as you're driving it, it feels weird because not only is this car pretty much brand new compared to my car, getting windy for some reason, so that everything is nicer and has less wear on the inside, it's got the same switchgear, it's got the same dashboard panels, it's got the same of a lot of stuff. It's also an E46. So driving this feels a little bit weird for me. I thought it'd be interesting for everybody watching this video, where you all typically watch my videos, probably on the toilet, to see both ends of the E46 spectrum. The basic, everyday, 365 days a year car, and the one that you take out on weekends for canyon drives and on the racetrack. But there's not that much to distinguish between them except for the driving experience. So let's do that. Yeah, so the transmission is clearly in its slowest setting at the moment. I don't believe there's an automatic mode. I haven't found the automatic mode. Like, I push the lever over one more time and it doesn't seem to do anything. So I'm gonna turn the ferocity of the gear shifts all the way up. See how this goes. Yeah, that's got a very mechanical feel to it, that's for sure. It really shoves you forward and shoves you back again. It's quite brutal, yeah. People say that it's like not the smoothest transmission, not the fastest. Yeah, I see where they're getting that from. It's not the best, but it's got a really good mechanical feel to it. It's so mechanical feeling that it almost feels like it's broken. Hope it's not broken. I don't think it is. A lot of things in this car feel like they're broken at first, but I think that's just how it is by design. Like the S54, when I first revved it, sounded a little bit broken. Oh yeah, there is an automatic mode. There we go. Okay, so to engage automatic, you push the gear selector over to the right again, so its default is manual mode, and it's not too bad in automatic, honestly. It's really feels like an automatic from this era. It's a little bit slushy, but it's fine. I'm sure the E46 M3, with its standard automatic that you could get it with, at least in the United States, felt smoother. But that's to say, this isn't bad. It's just, it's a slow transmission. But we're gonna experience it here in just a second. I'm gonna get it out on the open road and really row it through the gears. And when I'm sitting at a light here, it's just standard E46 stuff. But the time has been turned backwards 20 years. Like this car, minus a little bit of trim that's coming off above the passenger door there, interior trim, this thing is like brand new inside. It's really brand new. Oh, and also an airbag light, but that one I didn't even notice because my car also has an airbag light. All right, so let's feel it here. Oh yeah. That is such an experience. It makes such an amazing noise. This S54 and its raspiness is unmatched by like any other inline 6-cylinder engine. It just sounds so raw, and rowing it through the gears is such an experience. It just goes, I wasn't even exaggerating my body movements through each gear shift. That is how rough it is. That is insane. It's got so much power. It's got so much energy to it. It's an M car in the classic sense of the word, where it's just you change the gear shift ferocity and speed to the maximum setting, and it just goes, all right, I'm just gonna kick you right in the back with the gear shifts. If I was driving like a normal automatic car and it shifted like that, I would immediately think, uh-oh, that was not a good shift. I think my transmission might be on its way out. I actually like this sequential manual gearbox. I know it's not the most reliable system, you know, but it's such an experience through the feel and the way the shifts are so hard, and you really just feel like you're involved. You feel like you're doing something. And in terms of handling, I mean, it's typical E46. The steering is quick. There isn't that much feedback through the steering, but it's enough. The body control is excellent. It still feels like a lightweight, tossable car. You can make it even tighter and sportier with this sport button down here, which I don't really need to do because I'm in just regular town driving. I'm not on any back roads or anything. I would love to drive it on some back roads. That'd be great. So yeah, handling's excellent. Sound is out of this world amazing. Let's hit it again. Oh my gosh, that is amazing. This thing makes the most epic sound. It's a lot like my E46 in terms of the switch gear and all the boring stuff, but when you open it up, you really open it up in this thing, it is nothing like my car, nothing. I mean, I haven't driven the manual. If I think at it through the perspective of the manual I have in my car, which is a different manual, I know, but if I think about it like that, would I like to row my own gears in this thing, or would I like this SMG mechanical paddle shift experience? I think I would prefer the paddle shift, but I don't know. I'll have to drive a manual E46 M3 at one point, but man, that was good. This thing is so much fun. So that's gonna do it for me on this video. Like, subscribe, do all the normal YouTube stuff. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.